The clash between Pam Bondi and Jasmine Crockett exposes the raw tension and ideological divide in modern American politics, a divide that has come to symbolize far more than just a disagreement between two public figures. It represents a reflection of the nation's deep polarization, where every word, every gesture, and every accusation becomes ammunition in a never-ending political war. When Pam Bondi, a seasoned Republican and former Attorney General of Florida, launched into her sharp critique of Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a rising Democratic voice known for her unapologetic boldness and fierce advocacy, it was not merely about policy or conduct. It was a moment that embodied the collision between two Americas, one clinging to the ideals of traditional conservatism and the other pushing forward with progressive reform and unapologetic accountability. Pam Bondi's attack was calculated, confident, and grounded in the authority she has built over years of political and legal experience. She framed her arguments with precision, appealing to her conservative base by invoking the familiar rhetoric of law, order, and integrity. Her tone was that of someone defending not only her party but also her vision of what political decorum should look like. On the other side, Jasmine Crockett, a relatively new but rapidly ascending figure in Congress, was not one to stand silently in the face of confrontation. Known for her quick wit, sharp retorts, and fearless demeanor, Crockett met Bondi's criticism with an equally powerful force. The exchange became symbolic of the current era of politics, less about collaboration and more about confrontation, less about policymaking and more about personality-driven narratives that play out in real time before millions of viewers. This heated exchange highlighted how politics today has evolved into a spectacle where moments of conflict are magnified through social media and partisan media outlets. The ideological divide between Bondi and Crockett is not just about political philosophy, it's cultural, generational, and deeply personal. Bondi represents a political era that values restraint, presentation, and adherence to conservative ideals, while Crockett embodies the rise of a new generation of leaders who reject outdated norms and challenge the establishment with unfiltered honesty. The clash between these two powerful women, therefore, transcended policy disputes and became a mirror reflecting America's internal struggle over identity, values, and the future direction of its democracy. The conversation that unfolded was filled with intensity and undertones of frustration, as each side sought not only to defend their stance but to delegitimize the other's perspective. Bondi's approach was to present herself as the voice of reason, aiming to highlight what she perceived as unprofessional behavior or hypocrisy from Crockett. Social media played a crucial role in amplifying this confrontation. Within minutes, clips of the exchange flooded platforms like X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Each side's supporters rushed to defend their favorite, turning what might have been a brief moment of disagreement into a viral cultural phenomenon. Memes, hashtags, and commentary spread like wildfire, and suddenly, the Bondi-Crockett clash became a trending topic not just for political insiders but for the general public. This viral moment underscored how public perception is now shaped not by policy debates or long-form journalism but by brief, emotionally charged moments that spark tribal loyalty and outrage. The audience was no longer passive, they became participants, choosing sides, spreading narratives, and deepening the divide further. Behind the spectacle, however, lies a deeper issue, the erosion of civil discourse. The tension between Bondi and Crockett revealed how even accomplished and intelligent public servants are often forced into performative conflict to maintain relevance in a media environment that rewards outrage over nuance. Their clash was not merely personal, it was systemic, showing how modern politics rewards confrontation because it attracts views, votes, and engagement. The sad reality is that moments of mutual understanding or compromise rarely go viral, while moments of anger and attack become the headlines. In that sense, both Bondi and Crockett are products of the environment they operate in, where strength is measured by one's ability to dominate the narrative rather than bridge divides. The exchange also highlighted gender dynamics in politics. Two strong women facing off on live television invited commentary not just on their words, but on their demeanor, tone, and attitude, scrutiny that male politicians often escape. Bondi's polished composure and Crockett's fiery defiance became subjects of public debate, as commentators dissected their appearances, speech patterns, and emotional expressions. This reinforced how women in power are often held to contradictory standards, expected to be assertive but not too aggressive, composed but not emotionless, passionate but not confrontational. The Bondi-Crockett clash was therefore not just about politics, it was a demonstration of how society continues to police women's behavior, even when they've earned their place on the national stage. Furthermore, the ideological backdrop of their exchange is deeply rooted in America's broader social struggles. Bondi's stance aligns with conservative calls for discipline, tradition, and authority, appealing to those who feel the country is losing its moral and institutional footing. Crockett's response, however, echoes the frustrations of communities that feel unheard, disrespected, and constantly under attack by systemic injustice. Their exchange is, in essence, a reflection of America's ongoing battle between preservation and progress. This political clash also underscores the emotional exhaustion many citizens feel. Watching figures like Bondi and Crockett go head-to-head provides catharsis for supporters but deepens cynicism among those tired of the endless cycle of outrage. Yet, such moments continue to dominate public attention precisely because they offer something visceral, drama, conflict, and the illusion of truth being fought for live on screen. The irony is that while both women believe they are standing up for their principles, the media transforms their confrontation into entertainment, blurring the line between governance and spectacle. Ultimately, this confrontation between Pam Bondi and Jasmine Crockett lays bare the harsh truth about the state of American politics. It's not just divided by ideology but consumed by the very theater of conflict that fuels it. Their clash is both a product and a symbol of a nation at odds with itself, where disagreement has become a performance, and the pursuit of understanding has been replaced by the quest for dominance in the public eye. Media portrayal and public reaction amplified the confrontation between Pam Bondi and Jasmine Crockett, transforming what could have been a fleeting moment of political tension into a nationwide conversation about power, representation, and perception. In today's media landscape, every confrontation between public figures becomes an instant story, dissected by pundits, reshared by influencers, and reinterpreted through the lens of bias. When Bondi's sharp critique and Crockett's fiery rebuttal hit the airwaves, the cameras didn't just capture a debate, they captured the essence of America's polarized information ecosystem. Within minutes, the exchange was clipped, captioned, and spread across social platforms, where viewers consumed it not as a policy debate but as a dramatic showdown between two powerful personalities. The media's framing of the moment played a crucial role in shaping how the public understood it, with headlines that emphasized conflict over content, and soundbites that turned a serious exchange into entertainment for mass consumption. Cable news networks quickly picked sides, reflecting the ideological divide of their audiences. Conservative outlets amplified Pam Bondi's talking points, framing her as the voice of reason confronting what they portrayed as a loud and disrespectful opponent. They replayed her statements with approving commentary, praising her composure and her insistence on accountability. Meanwhile, progressive networks and online commentators highlighted Jasmine Crockett's response as a moment of empowerment, celebrating her refusal to be intimidated or silenced by an establishment figure. They described her as authentic, fearless, and representative of a new generation of women in politics who no longer play by the old rules. Social media, as always, served as the great amplifier. Short clips of the confrontation circulated on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and X, each edited to support different interpretations. Supporters of Bondi posted snippets emphasizing Crockett's tone and interruptions, while Crockett's fans highlighted Bondi's condescension and perceived arrogance. These micro-moments became larger than the full context, with millions of viewers forming opinions based solely on 30-second clips. Hashtags trended nationwide, with both women's names dominating timelines. Influencers, commentators, and ordinary citizens weighed in, often without watching the full exchange. The result was a digital echo chamber, where the confrontation evolved from a single event into a symbol of the broader cultural and political struggle dividing the country. What made this particular exchange so magnetic was not just who said what, but what each represented. Pam Bondi, polished and disciplined, stood as a reminder of the Republican establishment, law-oriented, image-conscious, and deeply invested in defending traditional values. Jasmine Crockett, outspoken and unapologetic, embodied the raw energy of a changing political landscape where authenticity and defiance are currency. The media, sensing the narrative power of this contrast, played it up relentlessly. Talk shows dissected every gesture, late-night hosts joked about the spectacle, and political commentators debated who won the exchange, as if it were a sports match rather than a discussion about governance and accountability. This transformation of political discourse into a form of entertainment is one of the defining characteristics of modern media culture. Conflict sells, and civility rarely makes headlines. The coverage also revealed how gender and race influence media narratives. Pam Bondi, a white conservative woman with a long-established reputation, was often described in the press as poised and professional, while Jasmine Crockett, a black congresswoman, was labeled fiery, emotional, or aggressive. These coded descriptions expose the biases that still pervade political journalism. Rather than focusing on the substance of their arguments, the media leaned heavily into character framing, Bondi as the refined authority figure, Crockett as the passionate disruptor. This framing not only shaped public opinion but also reinforced stereotypes that continue to burden women, especially women of color, in positions of power. Crockett's assertiveness, celebrated by her supporters as strength, was often recast by her critics as disrespect. Bondi's controlled delivery, admired by conservatives as leadership, was viewed by progressives as detached elitism. Through these contrasting portrayals, the media didn't just report the news, it sculpted it. Public reaction mirrored this polarization. Supporters of Bondi applauded her for standing firm against what they saw as rising incivility in politics, framing her as a defender of decorum and respect. They viewed her confrontation with Crockett as symbolic of the right's ongoing struggle to maintain order in an increasingly chaotic political environment. Meanwhile, Crockett's supporters viewed the moment as a triumph of truth-telling, a challenge to the hypocrisy of those who demand civility while disregarding justice. They praised her courage to speak without filters and her ability to stand her ground under pressure. In online discussions, each camp used the same footage to draw opposite conclusions, illustrating how facts in modern political culture are filtered through the emotional and ideological lenses of viewers rather than objective analysis. The viral nature of the exchange also had practical consequences for both women. For Bondi, it reinforced her image as a disciplined conservative voice willing to confront the new generation of outspoken progressives. Her supporters saw the moment as proof that she remained sharp, articulate, and influential. For Crockett, the confrontation became an opportunity to expand her national profile. Clips of her rebuttal spread widely, attracting new supporters who admired her authenticity and unwillingness to back down. In many ways, both benefited from the clash, as modern politics rewards visibility more than diplomacy. The louder the confrontation, the stronger the brand. Media experts noted how the framing of this confrontation reflected a broader trend, the gamification of political conflict. Instead of facilitating understanding, the media often turns every disagreement into a winner-loser spectacle designed to drive engagement and ratings. News segments featured polls asking viewers who won the exchange, reducing a complex discussion to a competition of personalities. Online creators produced reaction videos and commentary streams dissecting body language and tone, further detaching the event from its actual substance. This transformation of governance into entertainment blurs the line between journalism and performance, leaving the public with noise rather than clarity. Yet beneath the noise lies an undeniable truth: the public's appetite for confrontation has never been stronger. The Bondi-Crockett exchange tapped into the collective frustration and energy of a nation divided. To one side, Bondi's calm demeanor represented the last defense of civility in a political world gone rogue. To the other, Crockett's fiery words represented the courage to challenge hypocrisy and systemic inequality. The media's decision to amplify the confrontation only intensified this emotional response, creating a feedback loop where outrage fuels coverage and coverage fuels more outrage. This loop keeps audiences engaged but also keeps society trapped in a cycle of division. The nationwide conversation that followed revealed how people are no longer content to observe politics, they demand to experience it, to feel it, to participate in it. The Bondi-Crockett confrontation gave them that experience, a visceral moment of conflict that reflected their own frustrations and beliefs. But it also showed how easily media can turn real political discourse into spectacle. Instead of informing the public, the coverage often inflamed them. Instead of promoting understanding, it encouraged alignment with tribes. In the end, the clash between Pam Bondi and Jasmine Crockett was less about who was right and more about how America's media and public transform every disagreement into a national drama, where perception outweighs truth and emotion becomes the ultimate measure of power. This moment highlights the growing struggle between truth, image, and influence within today's political discourse. A battle that defines not only the careers of individuals like Pam Bondi and Jasmine Crockett but also the very nature of how citizens perceive democracy itself. In the age of 24-hour news cycles and algorithm-driven media, truth has become fluid, often reshaped by perception and spun into narratives that serve the agendas of those who control the platforms. The clash between Bondi and Crockett did not unfold in a vacuum. It occurred in a world where image often outweighs integrity, and where influence, measured by clicks, views, and followers, can overshadow the deeper pursuit of honesty and accountability. Their confrontation became a vivid illustration of how political dialogue in modern America has evolved into a high-stakes performance where truth is not discovered but constructed, debated not for understanding but for dominance. Pam Bondi's approach to the exchange relied heavily on her image as a composed and experienced political veteran. Her background as Florida's Attorney General lent her authority, and her tone reflected calculated professionalism, designed to convey control and confidence. Yet beneath this veneer of composure lay a strategic manipulation of perception. By framing herself as the rational figure in a heated exchange, she sought to embody truth through appearance rather than through verifiable fact. This is a hallmark of modern political communication. Credibility is no longer rooted purely in evidence or logic, but in how convincingly one can present themselves as the voice of reason. Jasmine Crockett, on the other hand, represents a different paradigm entirely. Her power lies in authenticity, in speaking with passion and emotional resonance that cuts through rehearsed political rhetoric. To her supporters, her unfiltered honesty is truth in its rawest form. To her detractors, it's chaos disguised as conviction. Both approaches reveal how political truth today is often filtered through emotion, identity, and presentation more than through objective reality. As their exchange circulated across screens nationwide, audiences were less interested in dissecting the factual content of what was said and more invested in judging who looked right. Body language, tone, and expressions became the metrics of credibility. Bondi's smirk or Crockett's raised eyebrow became moments of analysis, replayed and slowed down as if truth could be extracted from gestures rather than arguments. This fixation on image shows how political discourse has shifted from the pursuit of meaning to the performance of persuasion. Truth, in this context, becomes a flexible commodity, something molded to fit the desires of those who consume it. The more an argument aligns with a viewer's beliefs, the more true it feels, regardless of its factual basis. The Bondi-Crockett exchange encapsulated this phenomenon perfectly. Each side walked away convinced that their preferred figure had exposed the other's flaws, even though both operated within their own constructed versions of reality. Influence, too, plays an enormous role in this dynamic. The platforms that carry political content today reward virality over validity. Algorithms amplify outrage, and moments of confrontation spread faster than moments of reflection. As the clips of Bondi and Crockett's exchange went viral, each woman gained influence not through persuasion but through attention. In a digital world where influence equates to power, this attention becomes a form of currency, shaping reputations and future opportunities. The irony is that both women's messages, regardless of intent, became secondary to their personas. Bondi's influence grew among conservatives who admired her restraint, while Crockett's grew among progressives who celebrated her defiance. The truth of their arguments was almost irrelevant. what mattered was how effectively they commanded the spotlight. This struggle between truth, image, and influence has profound implications for democracy. When citizens base their political beliefs on performance rather than principle, the foundation of collective understanding weakens. The Bondi-Crockett clash may seem like an isolated media moment, but it symbolizes a broader erosion of trust in the political process. Truth has become subjective, filtered through partisan media ecosystems that reinforce existing biases rather than challenge them. Bondi's supporters consumed content that painted her as a disciplined defender of integrity, while Crockett's base saw her as a bold truth-teller confronting hypocrisy. Each narrative excluded nuance because nuance doesn't trend. What trends is simplicity, the illusion of clear heroes and villains, of right versus wrong, of one absolute truth that validates the audience's worldview. The role of influence in shaping these perceptions cannot be understated. Politicians today are no longer just lawmakers, they are brands. Their success depends on maintaining a consistent image that resonates emotionally with their audience. Bondi's brand is built on elegance, order, and intellectual control, Crockett's on authenticity, courage, and rebellion against established power structures. Their confrontation became a branding moment as much as a political one. In a sense, both women were performing for their respective bases, knowing that in modern politics, every exchange is recorded, analyzed, and immortalized online. This awareness of the ever-watching public transforms genuine discourse into strategic theater. Even authenticity, once a marker of truth, becomes performative when consciously displayed for cameras. This phenomenon creates a paradox where truth becomes increasingly inaccessible. The more politicians strive to appear genuine, the less spontaneous their interactions feel. Audiences sense the performance but still respond emotionally to it, trapped between cynicism and loyalty. The Bondi-Crockett exchange laid this paradox bare, two women, each claiming moral clarity, yet both constrained by the expectations of their ideological audiences. Bondi's calm authority was as intentional as Crockett's passionate fire. Both were authentic in their own ways but also deeply aware of how their authenticity would be received. In the end, truth became not a matter of what was said but who people wanted to believe. This dynamic also reflects the broader tension between institutional credibility and individual influence. Traditional sources of truth, government institutions, major news outlets, and academic authorities, have lost much of their power in the public imagination. In their place rise individuals who command influence through charisma and relatability. Jasmine Crockett's popularity stems from her ability to speak directly to people's emotions, bypassing formal structures. Pam Bondi's authority comes from her past position and polished demeanor, representing the old guard. Their confrontation thus symbolizes the ongoing shift from institutional to personal power, from objective truth to emotional resonance. The more influence becomes personalized, the more truth becomes fragmented. As this cycle continues, it erodes the possibility of shared understanding. When truth is divided among echo chambers, dialogue becomes impossible. Every debate turns into a contest of influence, and every disagreement fuels deeper mistrust. The Bondi-Crockett confrontation, replayed endlessly on screens, became a metaphor for this struggle. Truth overshadowed by theater, ideas overshadowed by impressions. The media ecosystem thrives on this tension, feeding audiences carefully curated fragments that reinforce the illusion of understanding while deepening the divide.